Guten Abend. Ich hoffe, es geht dir gut. Now, the more I analyze and the more I explore and the more I see the response of some Grenadians towards a simple request by the United States to deploy military assets on the island or close to the island, is the more I realize the level of vitriol and anti-American sentiment that exists. Now, I was a bit surprised or taken aback, especially knowing the history of Grenada and the United States. Now, that request is not unusual. In the annals of global politics, nations do it all the time. They make requests to people or nations that they perceive are their friends. And I would have thought that America would have thought that Grenada would be a friend indeed and a friend in need, especially considering that in 1983, at the hands of a brutal RMC regime who took power in a palace school, gunned down the prime minister and several of his cabinet members and innocent bystanders, I would have thought that in some respects, Grenadians would have been grateful for the Americans coming to Grenada, sacrificing their young men to actually save Grenadians from what would have been then the RMC. Now, that is a real fact, And anyone who would have lived through that experience would have understand the dire straits that Grenada was in. Had it not been for the United States, there is absolutely no telling which direction or the trajectory of Grenada as a nation would have been. But today, you see so much vitriol, so much vile statements, so much anti-American sentiment. And a lot of that sentiment is encouraged and egged on by some of the very socialist Marxists who would have been part of the demise and destruction of the revolution in 1983. And some of them who might have been personally involved or would have facilitated, the events of October 1983. And now you see in some respects that these people are egging on the anti-American sentiment. Well, I'll have you know, my very naive friends, you see all of the things you're saying right now? You see the freedom of speech that you have right now and the protection of the First Amendment that you have right now? All of that was guaranteed because the United States sacrificed its sons in 1983 to save you from a brutal RMC. That is a fact, Anybody who would have lived through that period of time would have known that you could not have voiced your opinion the way you guys are voicing your opinion now, These people who are egging you on to an anti-American sentiment, these very people, would have been people that would have locked your tail up, in Richmond Hill prisons in a heartbeat for saying the slightest thing that they would have perceived as anti-government or anti-PRG. Ask over the 3,000 people that were jailed, without due process by the PRG government. And today, these people come and are encouraging you on an anti-American sentiment. And being naive, you follow this and you drink the Kool-Aid. Now, what the heck has happened to Grenadian people? What has happened to your sense of reason, common sense, logic, and good judgment? A matter of fact, you don't have to go far. Ask Stillman Thomas what they did to him. Ask him. He'll tell you. But all of a sudden, they all have become part of the go along, get along gang. Some of these same people who are egging you on with the anti-American sentiment used to walk around with Makarov in their waists, playing Bajan for Grenadian people intimidating Grenadian people. Okay? Intimidating them. Have you been hypnotized by these people that you would allow them to lead you down a destructive path? You have seen what these people have done in 1983. These are the same people, okay, that destroyed your beloved leadership. Okay? These are the same people that, had it not been for the United States, who sacrificed their sons to free you, okay, that you would have been subjugated, that you probably would not have been able to break a word, okay, that you probably would not have been able to break a word or say anything. Now you say all sort of vitriol, you say all sort of vile things about the very people who came and saved you. That is just shocking. And I know you young kids don't know about this, but there are grown people in the society who knows about this, sits back and allow these men to say these sort of things in the public space to influence, misguide, and lead the youth of Grenada astray. And you guys sit back and say nothing and allow this. Ask Miss Nesfield. Ask her. I was there the night when they came for her. After the events of October 19th, 1983. I was there. She's a family friend. Okay? An extremely close relationship. Ask. God rest her soul, Miss Pierre, told me what they did to her. Okay? Because her husband was working on the port. Okay? God rest his soul, Mr. Eric Pierre. You think we don't know? You think we don't know? We know. So you can go around fooling these kids and them, but you ain't fooling me. And you ain't fooling Grenadians who know better. Man, when I look back, I regret I used to help you out. You know, when I used to manage Panache nightclub. Okay? But I didn't do it for you. I did it for the union guys. I did it for them. Grown man like you coming and talk all this nonsense. With age, you would think there'll be some sense of reason and judgment. Where's your sense of reason and judgment? Where's your redemption? Sickening. Sickening. There are people who should dissociate themselves from you if they want to progress in the political game. Because you're baggage. You do them more harm than good. You're an opportunist hanging on to their coattail, hoping that they will succeed so you can ride it. That is what you are. If they know better, they'll stay far from you. So all this vile and vitriol being propagated by these guys, and for all of you who get duped into following them, not knowing their history, then boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, it's such a markedly ungrateful action. And I'm telling you, the very people that you're following, the very people that are preaching all this revival of socialist Marxism, and this one is rising, and oh, they want to be anti-America, and they want to relive the early 80s, okay? These very people are the people that at the point of a gun would have brought you up to Richmond Hill prisons and squeeze your cojones, okay? Squeeze your cojones. Ask the young men in the north of the island. Ask the young men in Tivoli. Ask the young men in Montrich. Ask them what they went through. Ask the Rastafarians, what did they go through at the hands of the PRG? Ask just common citizens, okay, who would have dared say anything anti the PRG. Ask them what they've been through. And here you are now, a nation that perceives Grenada as a friendly nation has just made a request, okay, in the middle of a global situation, and you turn around and you say all these vile things about this nation. A nation that you, okay, import 30% of your goods from a nation indirectly that has a university on your island and contributes over 100 million US yearly to your economy. Now, all the people that you're talking about and all the people that you seem to be in favor of, where are these people? How much money comes from their economy to your economy? Okay? How much money yearly do they contribute to your economy? How much dollars are remittances that comes from their country to your country? How many people are sitting in their country that are sending you money to your country? You guys have lost every sense of reasoning. It is no surprise why a bunch of charlatans could have deceived you and bamboozled you and actually got you to vote them in office. It's quite clear now. It's obvious. My goodness. You have tons of family in the United States. Okay? Your carnival. Where did all the people that came to your carnival recently come from? They came from the United States and they spent tons and tons of money. Did anybody come from these other nations that they're also encouraging you to support? You people are, some of you people are ungrateful to the highest degree. Whoa. Where do your family go and work, okay, to elevate themselves and come back home and build houses, okay, and develop their country? Do they go to these countries to do that? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. As to whether or not you accept the request or deny the request, that is an entirely different story. That is a decision for the current administration in their good judgment to make. But it just goes to show, before even a decision is made and just a request is made, it just goes to show and exposes the underlying current of anti-American sentiment, shown on Facebook, shown on social media. This is amazing. And they talk about all these socialist Marxists, talk about, the Caribbean is a zone of peace. Conveniently, the Caribbean is a zone of peace. Well, the question is, America has always been only gracious to the Caribbean and to Grenada in particular. A matter of fact, the creation of that zone of peace was actually facilitated by the United States after the Grenada 83 invasion and the creation of the RSS. That was not a creation of the Caribbean nations. That was a creation, of the United States that facilitated everything in order to ensure that the Caribbean basin remains the so-called zone of peace that these people are so quick to boast about. When Grenada invited the socialist Marxists and the alternative superpower at the time into Grenada, was it thinking of a zone of peace? No. So again, for all the talk of zone of peace, that zone of peace was and is facilitated by the United States through military assistance and through economic assistance. Are you getting economic assistance for that zone of peace from any other nation? That's the interesting thing. So you see, when you hear these people talk, and my fellow people, you have to carefully consider, listen what is being said, analyze it, use your thinking cap, analyze it, and then come to a conclusion. Do not jump on bandwagons, Do not be impulsive or hasty to make decisions or hasty to say how you feel about the situation without having enough information about the situation. I talk about zone of peace. Again, it was not an unusual request. Jamaica, for example, during World War II, was a major hub for the Brits. It was a major hub. Did the Jamaicans rush to go on the side of the Germans? No, it was a British colony, right? So it assisted, at the time, its friendly mother nation. I am sure America perceives Grenada as a nation that is friendly to it. So why not make a formal request? This has exposed a lot This has exposed the prevailing sentiment propagated, of course, by the socialist Marxists so they can maintain the intellectual superiority and social standing as intellectual petty bourgeois. These people have led you astray in the past, and I am guarantee you, if you follow them, they would lead you astray again. The Greek mythological figure, if they touch you, you'll turn into stone. I guarantee you. The bottom line is this. Gehen Sie, was ist es vor? Denken Sie sorgfältig nach. Und lassen Sie sich nicht von abgehafteten Sozialisten und Marxisten in die Irre führen. Tread cautiously, think carefully, and do not allow yourselves to be led astray by washed up socialist Marxists.